of the origin story of the SAS, when it was born, and ultimately how?
Well, the SAS was formed in North Africa in the summer of 1941, and it was the brainchild of Colonel David Stirling, who was a tall, well-born Scots Guards officer who basically realised that in the desert, the key thing was supply lines. Whoever could maintain their supply lines would win, and they wound for thousands of kilometres across the desert. But if you could get behind those supply lines by travelling through the desert and attack them in the rear, then you could cause havoc and mayhem. The reason why no one had done that was because they presumed the desert was unnavigable, and nobody thought in those kind of ways. So, British military, but Germans too, largely thinking still in kind of terms of World War One tactics. So Stirling put together this plan that they would travel through the supposedly unnavigable, unsurvivable desert and carry out these hit-and-run operations and attack the German supply lines. And that was the birth of the SAS. That's where they first carried out their raids and proved this kind of ungentlemanly, maverick, completely new form of warfare can actually pay dividends.
And how pivotal then were the SAS to the overall effort during World War II? Because I think for, many people who have just a vague understanding of World War II, they don't particularly think of the SAS. So how pivotal were they during that war effort?
Well, just to give you an example, during the North Africa campaign, which was, of course, the first major land campaign that we won, I mean, Churchill called it the turning point of World War II when we won North Africa. Well, during that campaign, the SAS, who never numbered more than 600 strong and mostly numbered a lot less, destroyed on the ground 387 enemy warplanes, proven kills, and very likely far higher, over 400. And at the same time, the Royal Air Force in North Africa destroyed a lesser number. So their contribution in that theatre alone is incalculable. And at several stages throughout the war, then moving on into Italy and then into France and then into Nazi Germany, they received personal congratulations from the absolute highest level. So from General Montgomery, General Eisenhower, and Churchill himself. So yeah, they made a really, really significant contribution to the war effort.
And I wonder then, and this is something Chris Ryan, when I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago, he talked about that there was a point in time in which other nations were coming to learn from the UK Special Forces. And so the UK Special Forces seemed to have a real impact on militaries around the world. Just how big was that impact? And what has the influence of the SAS from, the British Special Forces had on the world stage and militaries worldwide?
British Special Forces had a incalculable impact upon the militaries of the world because we invented Special Forces soldiering. So when we set up the SAS and then the Special Boat Service and the Long Range Desert Group and the Special Operations Executive in World War II, we were inventing a new form of warfare. And so after World War II, when other countries realized we need some of that, so when the Americans realized, what did they do? They took two guys, one guy called Bucky Burris, and another guy, Bucky's quite a good friend of mine. They sent them to the UK. They put them through SAS selection on the Brecon Beacons because they needed to learn how we did it so they could go and replicate it themselves. And as a result of that, they formed Delta Force, which is the nearest American equivalent to the SAS. And you look at any Special Forces unit in the world today, they are all modelled upon what we invented. So in a sense, this is a great British brand. And even the Germans, by the end of World War II, Hitler had ordered Skorzeny, the guy who became his Special Forces commander, to set up a unit, several hundred strong, modelled exactly on the SAS and what they were doing, because Hitler himself realised that these kind of operations were game changers. So yeah, I mean, at every stage, every single elite forces unit you see in the world today is modelled on what was tried and tested by us in World War II.